So last time we were talking about times in my life when I had a gut feeling about something or someone where my intuition was trying to tell me something. But what? What is intuition really? And how do we strengthen it? Let's get into it. Welcome back to Soulful Wonderings, the place where we reflect, heal, and make sense of the invisible threads that connect our lives. I'm Heather, and today we are diving further into our intuition. But before we get started, if you're enjoying our podcast, please be sure to give us a like and subscribe. That way you will get our new episodes, get notifications when they come out. You can also find our socials and our website in the show notes, so go give us a follow. So today we're talking about intuition, gut feelings, that inner knowing. You know what I mean? It's like a whisper that happens before your mind sort of catches up. And if you're like me, there's been more than one moment where you just knew something. There was no evidence, there was no logic, there was certainly no explanation. You just knew. So how do we begin to trust that inner knowing, that, what can we call it, an inner compass? How could we start to really trust that? How do we tell the difference between fear and intuition? Because there is a difference, and they both happen. And then there's the moments when that feeling, it doesn't even feel like it's coming from you. Do you know what I'm talking about? It feels like it's coming from something greater. So let's get started with intuition. What is intuition? It's not some weird, mysterious power that, only a few people, maybe these gifted people, they're the only ones that have that. No. This is something that every single one of us is born with, right? Think of it, it's kind of like a built-in GPS, right? It's our soul's way of communicating a truth, right? It's going to tell us what we need to know before our mind can catch up and start to rationalize all those thoughts. Because we've been trained to trust logic, right? Trust logic, not feeling. Trust your brain, not your heart, right? You want to trust your intellect, your smarts, over your instincts, which is just totally opposite of how I feel most of the time. But your intuition, it lives in your body. And sometimes when it shows up, it's actually really, really subtle, right? You could maybe you feel your chest start to tighten, or you get that nudge that's in your gut. I know you felt this. I know you have. Or maybe things are just kind of confusing. And all of a sudden, there's just this clarity that just kind of cuts through all of that noise. And it's just there. Have you ever been in the shower and you had this random idea? All of a sudden, it just all makes sense. And you go, and you start to feel really creative and have this great idea. Maybe you're looking at something that you want to do, right? But you're resisting, and you don't know why, because you're looking at it and it's perfect. I mean, on paper, you're going, this is perfect. Why am I not doing this? But something's holding you back. And that's your intuition that's speaking to you. I've been having that a lot lately. There's some things I want to move forward on, and I keep stopping. and there's just something off about it. Something that I haven't put my finger on it yet, but I'm working my way through it. And often when you have this nudge or you have this feeling, it's not like it's shouting in your head, right? Well, maybe sometimes it is. But most of the time it's not some shout. It's more of a whisper. Like I said, it's subtle, and it may come fairly quickly and then just be gone, right? And you go, wait, did I just feel that? You question, was that really there? But the truth is, when you look deep down, you know it was there. And one of the challenges is we're often just too busy or too distracted or too conditioned to listen because we go, that doesn't make sense. That's not what everyone says I should do, or that's not what society tells me to do, or whatever you're thinking. But intuition, it doesn't need you to be perfect and to react perfectly and all that. It just needs you to be present. And what about the gut feelings? The gut is often called the second brain. And there's a good reason for that. Your gut holds kind of this vast network of neurons, and it's really deeply connected to your emotional and energetic body. How many times have you said things like, I had a gut feeling, or my stomach turned when that happened? That's not just a metaphor, y'all. That's your body. It's processing energy faster than your mind can interpret it. So when something feels off, even if you can't explain why, okay, I encourage you to pause and to listen. Because your body never lies. The mind can talk you out of things all day long. The heart can sometimes kind of get tangled up in hope or fantasy or things like that. But your gut is honest. It's direct. It's truthful. The truth is, it's ancient. It's where all the things are coming from. So that sensation of don't go there, or say yes, even though it's scary. That's the soul trying to either protect you from something, or maybe it's trying to propel you forward. And the more you listen, the louder it gets. The more you listen and are present and pay attention and do all those things, the easier it gets to kind of quickly know and follow it. So now let's stretch this a bit deeper. Let's go into the spiritual a little bit. Because for many of us, intuition isn't just kind of this internal system. It's a doorway, really. Have you ever received a message or an image in your head that felt like it wasn't yours? A phrase that you hear in your head. It's just out of nowhere. Or an image that pops into your head. The one I love is that surge of clarity about someone else's situation. You know what I mean? They're talking to you about something, and all of a sudden you just see clearly what they need to do, or it starts to just make sense to you. You start to see why they're doing this certain thing, or even they're talking about someone that they're having this interaction with, and you start to see why that person is doing that. You start to get their story, and you start to go, I know why they're doing that. And the further you allow yourself to kind of let all that come in, the further you allow yourself to go, the more you see, the more it makes sense. Oh God, I love when those happen. And that's what I call a download. And for me, it's God or creator. Some people say source, universe, whatever works for you. Like I said, for me, it's creator. But to me, that's a download, because a download, it's basically energetic information. It's a truth. It's guidance. Maybe it's even healing, that it just kind of drops in from this higher place. And it's something that you don't need to analyze it. Okay. You don't need to overthink it. Just receive it. Just let it come. And often it's going to come when you're still, right? When you're quiet, when you've allowed yourself to be open, when you're unattached. It's, you could call it a signal from the divine, but that signal sort of bypasses your brain that's always thinking, and it kind of just plugs itself in directly to that part of you that just knows. Because, downloads are often going to come during times of meditation, or maybe when you're out on a nature walk, maybe when you're journaling or doing your energy work, or, those quiet moments right before you go to sleep. Your mind's kind of a little bit unguarded, and that's when those downloads are going to come. But it's those times when your mind's not bogged down with the thinking, and that kind of tug of the world that we often feel, all throughout our days. And if you've ever thought, I don't know where that came from, but it just felt true. It just felt right. You knew instinctively that it was right, that it was real. Then you've probably had a download. Now, here's a big part of this to know, and actually a common question that I see is, how do I know if it's intuition and not fear or trauma? That's actually a very powerful question. Fear feels like a contraction. Okay, it's anxious, it's loud, it may even be frantic, right? It'll often come with have you ever gone into a what if spiral? We've all had that spiral, right? All the what ifs start flooding into our brain. You may also feel a need to control it. You may feel it kind of rise up in your body. It almost feels like static. Static's all kind of out of control, and it just feels weird and off and frantic. The word frantic I think that's a good word. But that's how often fear is going to feel. But then if it's intuition, on the other hand, it's going to feel more calm. Even if it's a hard message, right? Even if it's a message where you go, okay, I was listening. But intuition is not going to demand, right? It's going to invite. It doesn't argue. It just lands. So if you're in a moment where you're unsure, my recommendation is to get still, to breathe, do the breaths in and out, 2 or 3 breaths to just get you centered and get you calm. And then ask yourself, is this my fear trying to protect me, or my soul trying to guide me? And sometimes you'll feel that difference instantly. Now, other times it'll take a little practice, but the reality is your body always knows. So you want to trust whatever it is that you feel. And hear me, if you've ignored your intuition before, you are not alone. I've done it. Oh my God, I've done it so many times. And some of those times I've paid the price. We talked about that last time. Sometimes it's okay, let me let me take that lesson learned. But every time I chose to trust it, even when it didn't make sense in the moment, it led me somewhere better, somewhere truer, somewhere that instantly felt aligned. Because here's the truth, your intuition will never abandon you. It may go quiet if you stop listening, but it won't abandon you. And if you've ignored your intuition before, don't worry. You're not broken or anything. You're human. We override that inner voice sometimes, especially when there's fear and conditioning and doubt that just wants to get loud and in our brains. It's really easy to ignore that inner voice. But hear me, your intuition, it's not like it's going to hold a grudge against you or anything. It's just going to wait for you to come back, right? So how can you rebuild a trust with your intuition? First, you want to take small, aligned actions, right? So start with the tiny moments where you feel that nudge. Like maybe you feel the urge to reach out to someone, or you want to change your route on your way to work. Maybe you're feeling you need to rest instead of push, or saying no when you usually say yes. Even if it doesn't make logical sense, follow the pull that you're feeling, especially if it feels clear but quiet. Because these small steps they'll start to build the confidence in your inner voice. Okay? Then you want to take notice of what happens, right? After you take that action, observe the outcome. Did things flow more easily? Did you feel at peace? Did something unexpected and beautiful happen? Again, you're not looking for perfection, right? You're looking for alignment. Next, I highly recommend that you journal what you felt versus what happened, because that's where that kind of real integration starts to happen. So you want to write down things like, what did you feel in your body before you made the choice? Okay. And then write down, why did you follow it, or why did you not follow it? This feeling. Why, I followed it because of this, or I chose not to because of this. Write all that down. And also write down what actually happened. Oh, what should happen then is over time, you're going to start seeing a pattern. And then you can begin to trust that pattern, because maybe even if you're not trusting yourself, when you see it in writing, then you can start to go, okay, I can actually trust that. Look, there's proof right there. Next, celebrate when you listened. Even if the outcome wasn't perfect, celebrate the fact that you honored that inner voice, because that right there, that lone thing is healing. And every time you do that, you're telling your intuition, I hear you. You matter, right? You want it to stay with you. Then when you've started doing all these things, what's eventually going to happen is that whisper is going to become more of a roar, right? The more you trust it, the louder and the clearer it's going to become. You'll notice how, at one time you kind of felt uncertain, but now you've started feeling this kind of full body knowing. You know what I mean? You feel it all through your body. Yes, I know what I need to do. And instead of wondering if you're intuitive, you'll start living like you are. Because guess what? You are. And like I said, over time, that whisper is going to become an absolute roar. So now let's go over a few practices that you can implement that'll help you strengthen your intuition. First is a daily body check-in. And this helps because intuition often speaks through the body before the mind catches up. Now, how do you do that? All right. Each morning or in the evening, you want to close your eyes. You want to take 3 deep breaths, and you want to scan through your body and ask questions like, where do I feel tension? What emotions am I feeling? And just, is there anything I need to hear today? And then you want to trust the first thing that arises. Don't overanalyze it. Don't overthink it. I'm talking to myself there. But that is a great way to just sort of check in and start to recognize what's going on in your body. Number 2, try intuitive journaling. Now, why this helps is that when you're writing, it kind of bypasses logic and it lets that inner truth start to come to the surface. Now, how do you do that? You can ask yourself a question like, what does my intuition want me to know about this situation, whatever you're journaling about? What feels aligned for me today? Then just write. Don't edit. Don't think. Don't worry about if it's complete sentences. None of those things. Just write. And just let the pen, the pencil, whatever you chose, and just let it move on the paper and see what comes out. Now, a bonus for this, try writing with your non-dominant hand. That actually taps into the subconscious. And this is actually something I knew, but I'd forgotten about. And I was kind of reminded when I was working on this. So I'm kind of excited. I think I'm going to try it. I just hope it's legible. Next, you want to practice the yes-no body response. We talked about that a little bit last time. I talked about doing an energy check. So why does this help? Well, it teaches you to recognize what your body's yes and no is. We all have something unique that happens when our body's telling us yes and when our body's telling us no. So how do you do that? You want to think of a strong yes. Okay, so it could be something or someone that you love deeply. Notice how your body feels. That's your yes. Then think of a clear no. So this is going to be something that's untrue. Maybe it's something that drains you. And notice the difference. All right, so that now you've established this is your yes, this is your no. And then over time, your body's going to basically become kind of a compass that you can trust when you're making decisions. And you'll know it right away because you'll feel that yes or no right away. Next, try taking nature walks, but without a plan. Just a walk. And now why does this help? Well, nature kind of clears your energy. It kind of quiets that external noise so that your intuition can rise up. And when you're walking in nature, that can ground you. And when you're grounded, you tend to be more open. So how do you do that? Well, just go for a walk, but don't have a destination. Just walk. Ask your intuition to guide you. So where should I turn? What should I notice? Stay present in that moment. Just listen for what's happening around you. Kind of let the world speak to you. Look for signs, look for synchronicities, and any feelings that kind of pull you in one direction or another. Another is dream tracking. And why this helps is that your intuition often will speak to you in your dreams because your ego is kind of offline at that point. So your intuition can come front and center. So the best way to do that is to keep a dream journal by your bed. Write down your dreams, even if they're fragmented and maybe they make no sense. Just write it down. Then ask, okay, what's the message here? What symbols stand out? Your soul, creator, source, whatever you call it, will often communicate through a metaphor, right? So you want to trust those patterns and really take a look at those patterns. And lastly, try energy clearing rituals. Now, why do these help? Well, the clearer your energy field is, the easier it is to kind of distinguish your intuition from noise that's from the outside. So some ideas of how to do that is you can use breath work. You can smudge your area, cleanse your area. A salt bath can often kind of cleanse you. Or maybe try a visualization, a grounding visualization. Those can really help. And then after you've kind of cleared you and your space, place a hand on your heart or your guts and ask, what is true for me in this moment? And it's really great to see what will come up after you've really done a good cleansing and have gotten yourself centered up and all. It's a great thing to try. But the key for much of this is to just be present. To allow yourself to really be present in your life and in your body so that you can start to recognize what's happening, right? And be mindful of using one or more of these tools or practices to help you grow. So wherever you are right now, whether you're at a crossroads, or you're a time of change, or maybe you're just trying to connect with yourself, know this, you do know the way. You were never meant to walk blindly. That inner voice, that gut feeling, that divine download, it's all here to lead you home. So let your intuition be your compass. Let Creator be your guide. And let yourself remember what you've always known. You're connected, you're wise, and you're deeply loved. I would also like to offer you guys a free meditation to help you work on your intuition. So we will put the information of how to download that in the show notes. So be sure and check that out if you were interested in getting that meditation. Thank you so much for joining me today. And if this episode spoke to you, I would love for you to share it or let me know how your intuition has shown up in your life. And until next time, stay curious, stay open, trust what's within.